and I'm here at Sturgeon Heights School where they are having a Anne Frank exhibit over a period of many weeks for the public to see. And I'm going to ask the leaders in the school who are spearheading this initiative, this very awesome initiative, and we're going to get into some other very interesting things. So, on my right, we have...
I'm Erin Johnsrud. I'm a history teacher here at Sturgeon Heights Collegiate and part of the Human Rights Holocaust Studies program that has brought the exhibit to our school.
My name is Eran Plotnik and I teach automotive technology, and again, part of the team of teachers who are spearheading the exhibit, which is addition to the Human Rights and Holocaust Studies program and other initiatives that we do here at the school.
So, Mr. Plotnik, is it okay if I call you Mr. Capital P?
Yes.
Okay. Why is this, like, why do this? You know, other schools, they talk about the Rocky Mountains or, you know, what they did over the weekend. But here you're talking about the Holocaust and war and death and despair and, you know, what brings you into this?
On a personal level, I'm a son of a Holocaust survivor. My mother survived Auschwitz-Birkenau and went through the whole stages of the Holocaust. I'm of a Jewish faith, born and raised in Israel, new old Canadian. Passionate about being a second generation of survivors to basically teach the now generation about what happened and how to prevent it from re-happening. And the main theme here is a genocide as described or chronicled by a 14-year-old young girl in Amsterdam in Holland, and try to learn from the past about the present, and hopefully it will guide our students to the future to prevent genocide and similar atrocities from re-happening.
And Eric, what brings you into this? You're a history teacher?
I am a history teacher. So yes, a little bit of maybe of a natural connection in terms of the history. But what really brought me into the program was Eran and hearing his family story, and being able to connect personally through it that way just brought it to me in a different way. And I want to bring that to as many students as possible as well. If we can make that personal connection for them, and hopefully they have that motivation as well to make sure these stories survive and we know what has happened. Kind of the old adage to never forget, but it is so vitally important, especially at this time, for sure.
So what do we have here? We have the Anne Frank exhibit. The school is putting it on. It's not during normal school hours. It's and the date. So can you give the Facebook world, whoever is there, doesn't look like there's anyone there, but there is, what is going on here, and who can come, what the hours are, and what's special about this exhibit. Does it come from somewhere?
Lots of questions there. Yes, it is open. It's actually open to the public from 8:30 in the morning, so when school is open, until 7 o'clock at night for the remainder of this week, and then up until the 15th of March, with the exception of the 14th, because we will be attending the Holocaust Symposium downtown Winnipeg. But open to the public, as I said, so 8:30 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. There will be either staff or students here to help guide people through the exhibit. And basically it tells the story of Anne Frank, but in the greater context, what was happening in terms of World War II and the Holocaust and the persecution of the Jewish people. It comes from the Anne Frank House. It's an international exhibit that is leaving Canada, is our understanding, at the end of the year. And I believe only one more school in Winnipeg will have it before that time. So it's definitely a rare opportunity to see an exhibit coming from Anne Frank House themselves to help us learn about this obviously very important person and her story.
I have a question for either one of you or both of you. When you talk to kids now, you know, it's teenagers here, it's a high school. in their lifetime, they wouldn't have experienced the Cold War or even 9/11. When you bring this issue up and this, just the horrifics of, and what is the reaction of students? What is their initial reaction?
Go ahead.
Okay. Generally, what we're trying to tell the students that number one, that there is the age which is very relevant here, and try to imagine what it's like to be 14 and being hunted, literally like an animal, you and your family, and have to go to hiding. But the big picture is that there are three elements to the whole story, which is the perpetrators, the Nazis, in this case the victims, primarily the Jews, but not only. The Nazi Germany tried to rid the world of many unwanted, like the Gypsy Romani people, the mentally and physically handicapped, and so on, and slave the Slav nations. But the most, so it's the victim role, but really the role of the bystanders and the onlookers. We don't think that any atrocity can take place without people noticing it. So even the relevancy on today's agenda for most of them, when somebody is taunting you online or via digital media, for instance, or bullying you, there is an onlooker, there is somebody there who knows it's happening and can and could stop and prevent or minimize the damage. And this is where the relevant story come into effect, that if you don't stand for the rights of others when you're victimized, who will stand for you? And I think it's really touch and a nerve or a sentiment with high school students.
Oh, okay. Well, to paraphrase the famous phrase, first they came for strangers and I didn't do anything. Then they came for my neighbors and I didn't do anything. Then they came for me and there was no one to help me. So an individual right is everyone's right, and they need to be protected. Aaron, what do you have to say about what generation are we in now? It was the millennials, Generation X before that. Is it baby boomers? Is it Generation Y maybe?
I don't know what we technically call them.
Okay. I think it's Y.
I think maybe. But yes, it's definitely different in terms that in teaching history, I always say in everybody's lifetime there will be that world event that you know where you were, when it happened, when you got that news. And we talk about, whether that be Pearl Harbor or 9/11, those are just moments. And I said for these students, they've never really experienced that event. So it's different to make a connection with them in that regard, but it's interesting how they connect, that they find it so difficult to believe it could happen, and they really ask a lot of the questions about, but how did it happen? How is the big thing that they have a tough time with? And it really does kind of, exactly as Mr. Plotnick said, come back to the bystanders, and that they get, because they can break that down to the simplest of, a student in the hall being bullied or something being said, and what did you do about it? And if nobody did, then it can grow. And if no one does anything about it then it can grow even bigger. And they start to kind of understand it in that regard, and that's where they, I think, make the biggest connections.
So here at Sturgeon Heights, I still want to say Sturgeon Creek, it's Sturgeon Heights, we have an excellent team of teachers, thoughtful student body dealing with issues that go right to our humanity and why we are so fortunate to live in Canada and why we can't take for granted what we have. We can build on it, but it can be easily lost as well. I'd like to thank you for having this, allowing the public to come to Sturgeon Heights, and I encourage everyone to come here with your family and kids, your grandparents, and reflect. Thank you.